Here we go again. I got another video for you. This time we're doing a request that a viewer had suggested we do, and that was a video on doing a signature with a double running stitch. The main thing here we're going to work on is just a couple techniques of where we're going to pull out our points. The other technique we'll be showing you is a little bit of my logic anyway of how I achieve consistency as far as a double running stitch throughout the entire signature without missing any sections and without having anything done 3 times and then other things done just 1 time. We want it to be consistently all the way through. So first thing I'm going to do is I have got a scan of a signature of somebody that I've met over the years, and I went ahead and scanned that. I cropped it down, made a JPEG out of it. That part we're not going to cover. We're going to bring that in a backdrop image, and we're going to use that image to digitize our points by. So the first thing we need to do is come up here and we're going to go load backdrop from our file menu. And I've got it on my desktop here, and it's Mark Twains Signature, and I've got it loaded in here. Now what I've already done is, yeah, I know what you're saying, I didn't meet Mark Twain, you're right, but not quite that old anyway. But anyway, we need to look what I did here. When I made that signature, I usually try to make it about 3 times or bigger the size that I'm going to do the finish sewing at. That way my points don't have to be quite as accurate. And I'm going to use my ruler tool here to just show you how wide this is. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, it's 13 inches approximately in width. So that's what I'm going to do, because I would probably shrink this down to what, 3 inches, maybe 2.5 inches if I was going to sew this on something. So as you can see, it's about 3 times the size. You don't have to be that exact. There's no reason. We're just going to take our points, use the transform property or function or whatever you want to call it, and bring it down to our finished sewing size. So now that we've got it as a backdrop image, I see 4 elements when I quickly look at this. I see the word mark, I see the stroke of the T up here, that's 2, the rest of the word Twain is 3, and then I've got the dot of the I makes 4. So we're going to start out on the word mark. So we're going to use our zoom tool, which you get by just hitting the Z key, pop that up quick, zoom in. Now the next thing we have to decide here is where are we going to start this, and I'm going to go ahead and select my running stitch tool. And my clue on where I'm going to start this, a lot of people would say, well, I'm going to start it right at one end, or I'm going to start at the other end. I like to start it where 2 lines come together, and I'm going to pick right in here. Our line comes up and back down, kind of goes over top of each other, because there's already some natural thickness there, and that thickness helps hide the point of where we tie in and tie off. So, but the rest of us, I mean, our goal not here is not to show thickness other than where things overlap. If we were to do that, we'd almost need to use some sort of column stitch, and obviously it would probably have to be a little bit bigger. Our main goal here is a running stitch, which we would sew smaller than we would a column stitch. So I'm going to plot a point. Start out right up here at the top of the K. I've got 2 directions to go. I can go to this end, or I can go to this end. I'm going to go to the short end here first, just to give you an idea how I path this, because what I have to do is, if I'm going to get everything covered twice, basically I have to work to the end of the line and work my way back. Once I get back, I know everything's covered twice. And I'll show you little tricks here real quickly where I've got to do what I call subpaths. So when I come down through here, we're going to work down the left side of this, or the right side of this line, because that's where it meets up with this C. Pretty much the rest of the way through here we're going to go through the middle, but if we want this, and I call this a C, it's a K, but it looks like a C that hooks up to this straight line, we want this to actually touch. So we're going to go ahead and work down our right side here. I'm going to go right to the middle of this, and I'm going to stop, because this is going to be a subpath up here and a subpath over here. Remember, we've got to come back to where we were. So once I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come over here just slightly, and I'm going to work my way around this curve. And if you notice, I'll use shorter stitches on the curve, longer stitches on the straight lines. Okay, I'm coming to the end of this line, and you'll notice I'm going to plot that point out beyond the end of that line a little bit, because I'm going to turn around here 180 degrees, and a 180 degree turn in embroidery will create embroidery pull. This point right here will pull back to closer to where our artwork actually is. Shorter stitches on our curve back to where I started this subpath, which is right there. This subpath is done. It's done exactly twice. Now we need to do the same thing on this short one. Come up here, go beyond slightly for our 180 degree turn, and come back to there. That subpath is done twice. We're going to step over, which is very slight, back over to this straight line. I'm going to work down here again a little bit beyond. That's a little excessive. We could fix that in the end, but since it's a signature, no two would be the same anyway. So we're going to come right up to there. Now we've actually done all of this is now done exactly twice. There's no overlapping stitches. You know, we didn't do one area, one path, or one path of stitches, and another one has 3. It's all done twice. And this one's fairly simple to see. This one is a little bit longer, but the same rules apply. Now what I'm going to do when I'm working my way over here to the left and then working my way back is I'm going to do it in this case, the reverse order of the way the pen would have written this, to just mentally give me a path that I need to remember to follow when I come back. So that's kind of a little hint that I like to do. So we're going to start out here, and we'll keep this moving pretty quickly so this video doesn't go on forever and you get tired and just shut me off. So we're going to come down here again, a little bit beyond for our turn. We're going to come back up to here. This little section's done twice. We're going to remember that on the way back so we don't do it again. And we're going to turn this little curve and come around here. Come up here to there and work our way straight down this line. Again, I'm kind of going the way the pen would have went. We come to here, we've got a choice. We could go over here and back, but then we got to remember to do this piece. And I always try to do all the subpaths on the way over, or the way out, I call it, on the way out, because if I do forget one, when I'm coming back, I can pick up that little path without having to do any editing. So we've got that little subpath done here. We need to work our way over here. Now this little top of this thing here, I almost see as a curly Q, and I'm going to digitize it that way. As you can see, I went around the little circle rather than just up and back. You got to remember, this is embroidery. Embroidery is artwork, or a form of artwork, and that means as long as you get the result that you're looking for, it's done correctly. There's no right and wrong way to do it. Now there's lots of techniques that hopefully you can learn, but don't worry about right and wrong as long as you get the result that you want. Okay, we're getting up here to the top. Little tight curve there, so we put a few shorter stitches in, work our way down here. Again, I'm going to go beyond a little bit, back up. I put a little crook in my stitches there to kind of simulate this little crook. Not going to be very visible at the size we would probably end up sewing this. But if it makes you feel better, we put that in there. Okay, a little bit longer. If you notice, on the longer stitches, I try to stagger my points. Hopefully, our needle penetrations won't be exactly the same spot, and will smooth out our stitching. That's my preference. That's not a general rule you have to follow. That type of thing you just need to come up with practice and see what kind of look you're looking for. If all we're doing at this point is we're just working our way back exactly on the same path we came from. We're going to go around this little curly Q the same way. By doing that curly Q like that, that will actually add a little thickness to the top of that, which gives us a little bit better look. Now all of a sudden we've come up to this point. Remember, we already came up here and back. If we had forgotten that part, now is the time we could pick that back up. But since we remembered, we just need to continue on back this way because none of this has been done twice. And this will all end exactly where we started, which is at the top of that K. So let's get through this here real quick. Again, a path is already down and back there. We don't need to worry about that. And once you do this a few thousand times, it'll be real easy. You won't have any trouble. Well, maybe, hopefully, you can do it a little quicker than that. But okay, the word mark's done. I'm going to put a couple extra points in there just to make sure that's tied off good. Probably don't have to do that. I'm used to manual digitizing. If I want a stitch there, I've got to put one there. And I think the Floriani at the end of this is going to add in a tie-off stitch. So probably wouldn't have to do that. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to switch to my manual tool. And then I will pan over here so we can do the top of this T. The stroke of that T. And I'm going to start it up here. That way we're moving away from where this would be an actual trim, and we'll move up here, get the thread out of the way. So I'm going to plot a point there, and then I will select my running stitch tool and hit my Z key here so we can zoom in on this and go back to my running stitch tool. Okay, now we're just going to start at this end, and these stitches can be a little longer since this is a little bit more of a straight line. Now you may ask, why not use a curved running stitch? And my answer is, as small as we're going to sew this, and since we started this out bigger than we're going to sew it, I don't like to mess with it. I've digitized thousands of designs, and honestly I could count on my fingers how many times I used a curved running stitch. I'd rather just plot the stitches myself. It goes faster, in my opinion. Okay, we've got everything covered here twice. Out and back, left from right to left, a real short stitch up there from left to right, and worked our way back to one spot. I'm going to put another point in there to get that tied off. Select our manual stitch. Now we're working on the word Twain. We're going to use the same premises we did over here. How do we want to decide where to start? I'm going to do it on this upstroke right here because there's going to be some overlap here of the pen anyway. So I'll plot a point there and select my running stitch tool. And I've got two directions here. I got to go up here, and I've got to work my way over and back. We're going to do the short one again. So we'll just come down this line this way. Again, go beyond on our 180-degree turn, and we're going to work our way back to right there. Okay, so that path is now done twice. I need to now work from this point to that point over here, and then we'll work our way back. Now, somebody is going to get technical and say that right here we went over this more than twice, and they are correct, and we could eliminate that by starting it down here. I say it's okay because this was going over with the pen twice, and I don't think we need to be that technical about it. So that's how I'm going to get out of that situation. Again, I kind of look at this as a little curly Q, and I'm going to go around that rather than just an up and back. This was a change of direction of the pen. Now here we have two choices. We can go one way or the other. Doesn't matter which way we go, but we just have to remember it when we come back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this more continuous by just going this direction around like this and up to here. Now I will just change directions and come right back down like that. The key there is, and that would be one thing we might have to play with a little bit when we get done here, is the top of that A may not connect correctly and may look a little funny, and we may not know that until we would sew it, but we could always go back and move those points slightly beyond on our 180-degree turn, and we're going to work our way back here. Again, not worried about exactly where these stitches go. They would probably be good enough the way they are, but you remember you could always go back and change them depending on the size that you're going to sew this signature. We came up to here, we came back down, so everything there's twice. Here's where I was talking, this may not connect. You could, let's see if we can zoom in on that a little bit. We could throw a stitch over and back, that way we know that connects. That would probably take care of that. I'm going to stagger these stitches, come out. This little bit closer view maybe it will give you an idea. Go around this loop. and this straight up here is where we started. So I'll plot the point at the end. Out of habit, I'm going to put at least another one in there, relying on the Floriani software to throw my tie off in there. It's very unnatural for me, but I will let it go. Click on our manual stitch, come over here. I'm going to start at the thicker end of this because our tie off again will add a little thickness to that, so it'll look a little more natural to be there. Plot a point there. Come down with our running stitch. This one's real easy. Come down, go beyond a little bit. This is really short, so if you don't get it big enough, it will just sink into the fabric. So we're going to go out beyond there a little bit, and I'm going to come up here and I'm actually going to put probably just a little circle up here just to add some thickness to this. Again, this is so small, if you stitch this real small, it may end up lost in the fabric. So sometimes small elements like that, it's better to just enlarge them, make them a little thicker so you don't have problems with that. So we're going to end that with a couple extra stitches there to make that little thickness on top. And now we've got this 4 elements of this signature done, and we've got them all done 4 times. So if we turn off our backdrop, we can see here how everything is done. And let's turn on our 3D view. That way we can see where our dotted lines here are where actually will be trimmed out of there. And the next thing I would do at this point is to select this whole element here, which we've got it as just one color, so we can select it over here in our sequence view. Then I would go up here, and my toolbar is hidden because I slid that over a little bit, and we'd go over here to transform and decide, let's say we wanted to sew this 2.5 inches wide. Leave our maintain aspect ratio on, shrink that down, and if we was to sew that, I think we'd have a pretty good representation of Mark Twain's signature. If we was to make this bigger, we might want to actually go in and move some points. Actually, everything looks pretty good there. You could move the points so that you didn't have when you went over and back with your pathing, that you didn't have a little gapped area. This looks pretty good. The other thing you can remember is, since we've done it as a running stitch, we could select this and we could go over here to our running stitch, and we could try this at 3, which I think is a really good starting point, and we could try it at 3 millimeters. We could go down to, let's say, 2 millimeters, do another stitch out, and see what kind of look you had, and that may depend on the type of fabric. If you're putting something on a woven fabric versus a knit, the shorter stitch length can give you maybe a little bit smoother line. The longer stitch length on a knit will keep it from falling down in the grooves of the knit a little bit. So pretty much that gives you an idea how we would digitize a signature. And the main thing here was the pathing, so everything got covered twice. So that is the way we would do that. I think I'm going to follow up this video with another video, and we're going to do a design that's a little bit more, I don't want to say complex than this, but a little more something you'd run into if you were doing a corporate logo or something, and show you how to make sure you get a technique to do pathing for double walk stitches on all that. So hopefully everybody found this helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.